Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from today. Today, I'm going to be starting off with an overview of our specialty master's programs. So we'll give an overview of the Master's in Management and the Master's in Business Analytics program. And you will have some time for some admissions-related questions that you might have. And you're in for a very special treat. And let's face it, the key reason why you all logged in and are joining us today, we are going to have a sample lecture on AI and business analytics for one of our most esteemed lecturers, Professor Moo Lee. I will do a proper introduction in just a few moments. Thank you, Professor, for being with us here today. But before I get into some introductions, I would like to acknowledge that you are joining us from many places. And I would like to acknowledge that UBC's Vancouver Point Grey campus is situated from the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Musqueam people. And I would also like to acknowledge that you're joining us from many places near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So who do we have in the virtual room today? Well, first I'll start off by introducing myself. I'm Natalie Serestrafil, and I'm a recruitment and admissions manager. I oversee the specialty master's programs, but I am the co-lead. I am the key lead, actually, on the Masters of Management, the Bachelor's and Master's Plus Management in the Yale M2M programs. And in just a few moments, I will give an overview of the Masters of Management. I'm joined by my colleague, Vivian Tran, also a co-presenter today with me. She's a master's, she's a manager of recruitment and admissions as well, and she is the lead on the Master's in Business Analytics. So any specific questions you have on that program, she is your go-to. So feel free to reach out to either of us with regards to questions on our respective programs. And she will be giving an overview on the MBAN program momentarily. We're also joined today by Laura Chang. Laura is our marketing and recruitment specialist, and she is the brains behind the organization of this event. So thank you, Laura, for making this event happen today. We wouldn't all be here without you, so we really appreciate the work you do behind the scenes for us. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our special guest who's joined us today, and that's Professor Moo Lee. He is an associate professor of information systems at the UBC Sauder School of Business and the director of data analytics and AI research group at UBC. He teaches courses for the UBC MBAN, the Masters of Management, the Masters in Business Administration at the Robert H. Lee Graduate School, and he has worked in various industry positions at companies such as Samsung Electronics, AT&T, Intel, and Goldman Sachs. Professor Lee is going to be giving an informative and engaging lecture in just a few moments on the topic of artificial intelligence and business analytics. Thank you, Professor, for being with us. It's truly an honor and a privilege to have you with us today. Just some kind of housekeeping items for the day. If you have any questions during the times where one of us is giving a presentation or a lecture, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we will either try to address them right directly in the chat, or at a later time. Maybe it's a key question that other people would really benefit from, and we'll answer it a later time during the question and answer component. So feel free to type your questions and comments in the chat as you have them. And when we're in a Q&A portion, you can also feel free to put the raise the hand feature, and you can unmute yourself to ask your questions that way as well. So thank you. And let's dive right into an overview of the MM. So our MM program is 9 months long. It's a full-time program. And it's offered right here where we're all dialing in from, the heart of Vancouver, which is consistently ranked as one of the most livable cities. Mainly because of its nice climate, its surrounding mountains, ocean, sea, and sky. Essentially, you get to study at one of the world's highly ranked, globally renowned universities in a pretty remarkable city to live and study in. The MM course is designed for graduates from non-business bachelor's degrees. So if you have a specialization in something like forestry, the arts, land and food systems, science, kinesiology, music, amongst others, this is a program you definitely be eligible for. And this program gives you the ability to build your bachelor's degree and your business knowledge so that you can elevate your career before launching yourself into the workforce. The program also includes a 3-month consulting project so that you can start building your work experience and start making an impact right away with hands-on experience. You'll also have the opportunity to engage, collaborate, and network with local businesses on group projects. You'll put your business skills to work on community enhancing projects and get your sleeves rolled up on business planning, market expansion research, community planning, and environmental sustainability initiatives, and a lot more. Career programming is also something that you'll see is embedded within the curriculum and that goes throughout the year. Starting day one, you're provided with resources and career coaching to empower you towards your career goals and career readiness. And you're consistently getting that support and that training to make sure that you're set up and ready for the job market. So whether that means building your own personal brand, getting interview ready, or getting support on your CV, these are all some great resources and support you get access to as part of the Business Career Center. And we have that designated team, whether it's from the Business Career Center, from our own RHL student experience team, to make sure that you feel supported along the way in your academic and career journeys. And looking at what it takes to submit your application and put your best foot forward in the application, we really have a very holistic evaluation process. So we do take the full person into consideration when we're making any kind of admissions related decisions. We'll look at your academic background. That tells us a little something about your ability to keep up with the pace of the program, because it is a fast-paced program at the end of the day. We're looking for your professionalism, whether you have work experience, whether it's volunteer, internship, co-op, any kind of community involvement. These are all things that we really value as part of the admissions process. And of course, throughout the application, we're looking at your communication skills, your interpersonal skills, your overall professionalism. And kind of more of the details in the application. You'll see once you start your application that there's some short essay questions, some longer essay questions. There's a video submission as well. Again, we're not expecting any kind of elaborate production here with the video essay. It's just your opportunity to let your personality shine through, and for us to get a stronger feel as to who you are. And of course, as part of that, there's also an essay component as well, an interview. If you do make it to that stage, that's a good sign. If you're late in the application process, if you have been invited for an interview. And I do invite you all to have a look at our GMAT GRE waiver procedure. Have a look on our website, and see if you're eligible for this waiver. Essentially, there's 3 criteria. If you meet one of the 3 criteria, you can be considered as exempt from having to take the GMAT. So take a moment to review the criteria in detail. And if you do meet the criteria, please submit a statement of qualifications. Essentially, it's a 1-pager in which you're describing and outlining how and why you should be considered for the waiver. For the program, work experience is not a requirement, but it's definitely a nice to have. It can be something that can help elevate your profile. Again, whether that means internship, volunteer, or co-op, these are all things that we look at to assess your different competencies for the program. And I do encourage you to apply as early as you can. Vivian will be reviewing the deadlines in just a few moments, but that really just puts you at the forefront of some great scholarship opportunities. And with that, I will hand things over to Vivian to give an overview of the Masters in Business Analytics program. Thank you, Vivian.
Thanks so much, Natalie. So the MBAN program is a 12-month program. Natalie, I think the slide is just shifted. Can you shift it back to the MBAN slide. Thank you. So it's a 12-month program, intake every August, and it does contain a 4-month paid consulting internship. So 8-month intensive training and then 4-month paid consulting internship. We do have up to full tuition scholarships available and GMAT waivers. For international applications, watch for this January 9th application deadline. That's going to be kind of the deadline for some of our very large scholarships, as well as the GMAT waivers for international applications. Domestic, you do have until the end of the cycle in May 7th, 2024. And happy to take questions about this in the Q&A. If you have them, please feel free to pose them. There is no minimum or maximum work experience requirement for the MBAN program. And it's essentially an intensive training program in business analytics. There is comprehensive career support, including one-on-one career coaching, company information sessions, soft skills development. So there's a range of support available for you career support available for you as you go through this rigorous academic training program. Natalie, next slide, please. This is the program journey. So I won't go into too much detail because it's a good snapshot right here. So you can see the 12-month journey. You can see that every 5 weeks or so, you are basically doing 4 intensive courses at the same time, along with thematic courses and things like data visualization, business immersion, and data-driven marketing. The green sections highlight the focus on the career development. As you can see, that runs throughout the course of the program journey, accumulating in, of course, your 4-month paid consulting internship. There's a hackathon event that's done typically every year with one of our industry partners. This year it was done with Google Cloud. So it's a great way for you to get real world work experience on your resume, as well as get your name and your work seen by some of our industry partners. So I'm happy to talk more about this program journey and answer your questions more in depth if you have them in the Q&A, or feel free to join some of our upcoming sessions. And we're going to have an event registration page to show some of our upcoming events at the end of this presentation, so you guys can sign up for future events. So again, preparing for the MBAN application, it's like Natalie said, very much similar for all of our programs, a holistic evaluation process, considering both your academic, professional, and personal experience. Some of you guys also have questions because maybe you were coming directly from an undergraduate degree. It's fine. You just have to tell us what your motivations are for doing this MBAN degree. It is a professionally oriented degree. So even if you don't have work experience, this is important to tell us how you plan to use this education to certain career goals, right? So even if you don't have the work experience, at least have some of that career planning in mind. We're going to be looking at the admission requirements as we listed on our website, and we can provide links to this in the chat in a little bit in case you guys don't have those links. GMAT or GRE, unless you qualify for a waiver, but note the waiver deadlines. Some more information about that in the chat of the Q&A. English proficiency, we're looking for either a 7 on the IELTS academic, and that's across all the different bands. It's an average of 7, or 100 on the IELTS. We really recommend that you get to the intermediate level of Python and R, either through university coursework, or for those of you that don't come from that background, to at least get it through online training through things like Coursera or DataCamp. It's not a hard requirement for us, but it's highly recommended. And then review your professional motivations, ensure that you explain your career goals, do a little bit of research into what market you want to work in, whether you want to stay in Canada. All of our programs give you eligibility for a post-graduation work permit in Canada. And the MBAN program actually gives you eligibility for the British Columbia Provincial Nominee Program. So that's a faster, kind of smoother way into permanent residency should you wish to make Canada your home after you graduate. So those things we can explain more in depth in the Q&A if you have more questions about them. But again, think about your professional motivations. If you want to be working in Canada afterwards, do a little bit of research into the companies that exist in the markets that you want to work in, right? If it's Vancouver, do some Vancouver-based research. If you are interested in like Toronto, for example, do a little bit of research into that market as well. And of course, just the mixture of maturity, motivation, and fit. These are our deadlines. So you can see the same deadlines for all of our programs. So MBAN and MM and full-time MBA, for those of you who are considering our other programs, they are the same deadlines for both Canadian and permanent residents. So the first round deadline is coming up soon. It's October 17th, 2023. And then we have our second round deadline. Now that's a very important deadline for those of you that are international. That is our deadline for all of our programs for international students. If you want to be considered for a waiver of the GMAT GRE, it's not automatic. You need to apply for it. You need to upload a statement of qualification. So keep that deadline highlighted in your calendar if you're an international application. It's also our deadline for some of our larger regional scholarships, the up to the full tuition scholarships. So for an international applicant, please keep that January 9th deadline in mind, but I always recommend don't wait for that second round deadline. If you're interested in some of these incentives, some of these scholarships, the GMAT waiver, aim for the first round deadline if you're ready by then. Third round deadline is March 12th for Canadian PRs. And then the final round deadline is May 7th, 2024 for Canadian and PRs. Final round deadline for international applications is March 7th, 2024. You can see the international deadlines are much further ahead than our domestic student deadlines. And this is because of the sometimes lengthy study permitting process. So we just want to make sure that everyone has enough time to get their study permits and then, come here with enough time to settle into the new country. So keep these deadlines in mind. Supporting documentation. So all these deadlines, they presume that you can upload unofficial copies of things like your transcripts, for example, but we will need official copies of these documents by May 21st for both Canadians and PRs as well as international. And then supporting documents. That means like, test scores and things like that. Official documents, things like official copies of transcripts, official copies of your degree certificate and English test scores, they need to be in by June 30th, 2024 for both Canadians and international students. Great, so we're happy to take more questions about that at the end of this presentation or in the Q&A. These are our MM and MBAN events. Feel free to scan that quickly if you want to see upcoming events that are coming up. But without further ado, we can come back to this page later if you guys want to scan this later on, and we're happy to provide more information in the Q&A. But let's get on to introducing Dr. Jean Lee, who is our keynote speaker for today's sample lecture event.
Thank you, Vivian. So I will share my screen to get started. Okay, so I hope everybody can see the screen okay. Thank you. All right, so thank you for having this session today, and thank you for all the participants from all over the world, I can see. So my name is Jean Lee. Thank you for the kind introduction. So today I'm going to give a short sample lecture on AI and business analytics. So let me start with a story. So when I was doing my own master's degree about 20 years ago, and then I was in an internship in a company called Goldman Sachs. So this is the pictures I've taken while doing my internship. So I was doing a kind of analytics type master's program. Actually, it was a computer science master's degree. And I was in the internship, and I was wondering why finance companies are looking for software engineers. So I was curious. And then this is like 20 years ago, and the Goldman Sachs said about 1/3 of their employees are actually tech people. So I was really curious what was going on. This is an article that was written a couple of years ago. Goldman Sachs used to have about 600 traders in their floor in the 2000s. So these are the people who are trading stocks, making phone calls, and in front of a large screens. And then they said they were mostly replaced, automated out by 200 computer engineers. So you can see that the world of finance has been revolutionized with the automation and technology. So in the analytics. So this is a few charts. So our productivity level over the years has been increased. And then a lot of things has been due to the productivity of the technology and automation and analytics. The employment type. So the clerical sales types are decreasing dramatically. The professional jobs are increasing. So you can see there's a big change happening in the world. And this is maybe why you wanted to listen to AI and analytics. So actually, in this case, I want to allude to a concept called GPT. This is not ChatGPT. It's a general purpose technologies, which is a technology that affects the whole industry, economy at the global or national scales. So these include such as cars, computers, internet, and actually GPT, the ChatGPT is a GPT. It's an AI. So So some people think we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So in the first revolution, because of the water, power, steam engine, mechanization, in the UK, mainly in the European area, there was the first revolution. And then there was a mass production electricity in the US, mainly in the Detroit area, when they had the car manufacturing. That caused the second industrial revolution. So whenever you have this new type of technologies, the society and the economy change rapidly. And the third revolution happened when we had the IT and then electronic systems. People argue now we are in the fourth revolution, where it's not just the IT system sitting into the digital world. The digital world is actually changing the physical world. People call this cyber physical systems. And you can imagine, like, say, I just had a summer break in Korea, and then when I get back to Canada, I didn't have much to eat. So what do? I use my mobile phone, the technology, right? And then I will order some foods online, and then there's a delivery coming in. So you can see, so the IoT and the mobile technologies, the physical worlds are changing because of the digital technologies. Mark Andreessen, who is a venture capitalist, who actually, the company is called Andreessen Horowitz, he had his claim about 10 years ago, why software is eating the world. So indeed, the software, and now actually he has written a new article saying how AI will revolutionize the world. So you may be wondering why this is happening nowadays. Why such a big change? People argue there are two drivers of this new revolution. So the first thing is that, as Natalie introduced previously, I was working at Samsung Electronics. So I was working on the one of the first mobile smartphones. Maybe you heard of Galaxy. So I was one of the engineers behind it. So Galaxy phone, with the smartphones, you are generating a lot of data, your location data, your phone call data, your social media posts. Because of all these devices, we are getting a lot of data collected. It is not a linear increase, it's actually exponential increase. So social media, web data, human activities, now with the YouTube and Netflix, all the video data, we're getting more and more data sets. At the same time, we have a computation power to analyze those data. So there's something called Moore's law, where the Intel co-founder Moore claimed that every 1.5 years, the computation power will double. So it's also exponential increase in terms of computation power. So on the one hand, you have the data sets, and then the other hand, you have your computation power that you can analyze them. So with these two drivers together, we are seeing a lot of revolutions happening these days. Okay, so for the rest of the lecture, I want to give you some brief definition of what is business analytics, and then why we need to have AI for this analytics. I will also introduce some of my, I'm a research faculty. I will introduce some of my AI and analytics research. And then at the end, I will introduce what will you learn in the MBAN MM program. Okay, so let me start with the definition of BA. So this was my internship project at AT&T. So this was a time when iPhone 3 was introduced to the market. So you may wonder, well, what's the big deal of 3? Before iPhone 3, all the apps were actually developed by the phone manufacturing companies, such as Samsung or Apple. But after iPhone 3 was introduced, there was an app store. So what does it mean? So all the third-party developers can use Apple or Google's Android API to introduce new mobile apps to the market. So this is open innovation. However, the network bandwidth was not ready for this prime time. And because of that, there are a lot of call drops and the slow internet. It was back then, it was 3G. Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah. And then at the same time, so because of all this network usage, there were like a lot of complaints. And at the same time, there was another revolution happening, which was social media. People started to complain in their social media feed. So this project was more than 10 years ago now. We were using Twitter API. Now we call it X after Elon Musk took over. So Twitter API. So we collected all the complaints about AT&T services, right? So then we can do the keyword search, keyword analysis to understand what kind of complaints are coming. At the same time, the tweets and a lot of social media data, they have geotext, we have the location. So we can pinpoint where these complaints are coming from. So actually this is a kind of now I recall, now I think this was my very first analytics project. Now, if you go to a lot of customer-facing service providers, you will have a lot of the social media monitors, not just the actual operations monitoring. They have the customer analytics. So more formally, BA is about capturing data. So these data some of them are coming from their internal enterprise databases, like ERP or CRM systems. It can also come from external data sources such as social media or industry analysis, competitive analysis. So you capture these data together, external, internal, and then you integrate them together to make a coherent data set. And then you will use a lot of this AI analytics tools. So fundamentally, BA is about decision making. So it's not just for this, it's not analytics for the sake of analytics. It is to use the results of the analytics to inform your decision making. So to the management, executive levels. So this is about BA. I will switch the gear a little bit. So business analytics, so why we need to have AI? So I mentioned this is about analyzing large data sets to make decisions, business decisions. When people talk about big data, there are some properties, they call it 5 Vs. This is volume. It is a huge data set. So recently I was working with a video company. They gave us about 2 weeks worthy of data, video data. It was like terabytes and terabytes of data. So it's huge data. Velocity, because these data sets are being collected in real time in a really fast pace. So velocity. And variety. So the data sets are social media, like text data, or if you collect Instagram data, those are image data. If you analyze Netflix or YouTube videos, those are video data. Or if you are analyzing Alexa or Siri data, those are speech data. So there's a variety of data set. And veracity is another property where some of the data set can be misinformation. So we have to check the quality of the data. It's called veracity. Ultimately, you need to create value out of it. So that's value. So 5 Vs. So specifically, I mentioned, so there are a variety of data sets, text, photo, sound, video. Those are what's called unstructured data sets, which consists about 80 to 90% of data that's been created. Using the traditional analytics tools, which is mainly for numbers, it's not easy to analyze them. So you have to have AI tools, such as machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision, deep learning, etc. So this chart over here is showing the ad spending of companies over the years. And you can see it's still search ad is number 1, but you can also see the social display ads, video ads. Those are mostly unstructured data. If you wanted to do a good ad spending analytics, you have to do AI. So I think this gives you some convincing story why we need AI in BA. So what is AI? So AI, it's a buzzword nowadays. So people have many different definitions. My definition is it's a computer system's capability to correctly interpret external data and learn from it and use those learnings for a specific goal or task. So this is a very broad definition, but in the AI field, there are many subfields depending on what kind of task you want to pursue. So if you want to analyze image data, like from Instagram, you need to do computer vision to see. If you want to analyze Alexa or Google Voice, other kinds of voice data, speech recognition, listen data. If you want to analyze business strategy documents or legal documents, you need to use natural language processing to read. And the machine learning, knowledge representation, and reasoning for planning for robotics, there are a lot of subfields of the AI. And I believe these subfields of AIs will have a very specific applications on business analytics. And in the And this is what's happening. That's a very and fast paced. I need to also catch up with all these new technologies myself yeah. All right, so I want to introduce one of a sample AI project that I've conducted recently. So this was with a partnership with a video company. It's not YouTube, but it's like YouTube-like company. So where when you go to a YouTube and then you want to watch a video, you search for video or in the feed. When you try to watch it, if you're in the free plan, sometimes you will see this pre-roll ads, right? So in front of the video, it's a bit annoying sometimes, but you have the opportunity to skip the ad, right? So this project was to see if you can analyze the consumer, the viewer, and then the content they want to watch, and then if you can analyze the pre-roll ads, it's also a video, a short video. If you can analyze them, can we predict if this consumer will skip the ad or not, right? So why do you want to do this? Because we want to then understand what type of ads to show in front of into the screen, right? So how do we do that? In the video data, you have the visuals, right? And also you have the audio and then textual, the theme. So you have to do a multimodal analytics to understand those videos. And then you need to also understand the consumer based on the persona and demographics. Interestingly, if you can analyze all those features together, you can actually predict with the 80% accuracy if this person will skip or not, right? Isn't it pretty amazing? I mean, it could be creepy also, but anyway. So using this prediction knowledge, what do you want to do next? You want to optimize your ad placement, right? So you can develop a matching algorithm, where you will place the right ad in front of the consumer. So this is a sample AI project that I've conducted. So throughout my course, I'll be happy. I will share more of my actual industry experience on analytics and AI. Okay. All right. So I will now conclude by introducing what you will learn in my course in MBAN and MM. So actually, as Natalie introduced previously, I'm teaching in the MM program and also MBAN, as well as a full-time MBA. This was a Harvard Business School article on what are the essential skills for analytics professionals. So you should be able to have good communication skill using data and visualization. So you will in the MBAN MBAN program, you will have a more detailed understanding of it. In the MM, you will also have a taste of it. You should be a problem solver and also critical thinker. So some people argue with the AI introduced, I mean, don't AI, can they do everything? The fact is that AI can hallucinate like ChatGPT. You need to be a critical thinker to understand what the AI is producing. And also you need to do a good prompt engineering, like what type of questions you will ask to the AI. So you should have critical thinking skills, which we will teach you in the MM and MBAN program. There are some technical skills as well. Like for the MBAN program, you will learn Python, R, SQL, and Tableau. In the MM, my course, I will introduce Python and using Python to do database and other things. This was taste. My course is actually called BAIT 508 in MBAN and BA 515 in the MM. So I will introduce working knowledge of Python programming, and then we will introduce some AI and data science concepts. And then we will dive into Python ecosystems, and we will have some hands-on analytics practices. So this was a sample project from one of my student group, where they analyzed tweets about certain topics. In this case, it was healthcare. And then they create this beautiful word cloud, and then they do sentiment analysis. What are the positive sentiment? What are the negative themes of this topic? Okay, so this will be this is what I will cover in these courses. So I will conclude, and thank you very much for attending this session. I'll be happy to take answers, and yeah, so that's it for the sample lecture. Thank you very much.
Great. So this is a great opportunity right now for anyone in the audience to ask Jean any questions that you have. It's a golden opportunity to interact with some of our faculty. So feel free to raise hand or use the Q&A feature to pose questions to Jean. While we wait for some questions to come in, Jean, maybe I can pose you a question that I often actually hear from a lot of students. And what is the difference between this MBAN, like an MBAN program, for example, and like a Master of Data Science degree? That's something that I get a lot of questions about.
Master of Data Science versus MBAN. Yeah, that's a great question. This is a question I also hear myself often. So actually, I do advise both cohorts, MDS and MBAN in the UBC. So I think the main difference is this: what is the focus? So if you want to be a data analyst or data scientist, I think MDS is the right program. But if you want to be a analytics translator, where you have a good understanding of the business problem you're facing, and then you translate that problem to a data problem, and then you do the analytics and then use that results back to the management, then I think MBAN program is the right way to go. As a matter of fact, initially, maybe some people think, oh, if you have more technical skills, you get better chance of getting hired. The reality is that you need to have business understanding to really translate your idea back to the management. I see many of our MBAN students being successful with that skill set. Yeah, both the soft skills and the management skills, as well as the actual tangible technical skills together. Yeah.
I guess following on that question is, how would you say generative AI is going to disrupt or transform the field of analytics?
Yeah, that's a great question. Last November, after that, I was like, oh, what do I do with my course? I think AI is complementary to the human skills. As I briefly alluded to, AI is generally a lot of, it's very powerful, but at the same time, it can be wrong. Still, human needs to guide the AI tools. So prompt engineering is a new field where you need to craft your ideas well and questions well to guide the AI. That's the first step. But also you need to also check the result of the AI. So let's say you ask AI to code Python on certain tasks. It's not necessarily correct. You have to interpret the results and then make sure it is valid. So in that sense, I think there's a good complementarity. I think there will be a more demand on technical skill set because of the AI. That's what I'm thinking.
Excellent. I see a bunch of questions have come up now, like some of them related to AI. So I'm going to pose them to you. So one person is interested. I'm curious about how AI can be used to boost company efficiency. The advent of GPT models makes it easy to have AI assist us in our daily tasks, almost like hiring a personal assistant. I've noticed that many employees in non-tech sectors, for instance, in investment banking, where I currently work, still aren't aware of these capabilities. I aspire to be someone who integrates AI into specific business processes. So I'd like to know, how does Goldman Sachs or other big firms, for instance, integrate AI into their general management needs to improve efficiency?
Yeah, that's a great question. As a matter of fact, they do know about these AI developments. The question is how they can use it. In the finance or in the case of healthcare sectors, these are very mission critical applications. So you cannot just rely on the AI results. So in the case of, let's say, finance industry, you have to, let's say you have a loan application, you reject it using AI tools, then you need to actually give a good reason behind that. And many of the AI tools are not interpretable, so you cannot really directly use it. So that's why I think that people are still examining, like, to what degree AI can automate and what guardrail humans should provide. So I can see there are more of this application coming. I think I'm talking to many companies nowadays in a lot of sectors, and they are actively seeking to use generative AI to improve their efficiency. Yeah.
But with the human guardrails and like the human.
Of course, yeah, it cannot be just automated. I mean, many of the boring stuff can be automated, but all the important judgment calls has to be made by humans.
Great. Okay, another question has come in. Dr. Lee, do you expect Moore's law of exponential progress to continue being relevant as technology proceeds to improve?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not an expert in the chip manufacturing, but what I see, at least from the stock market, I think it will continue. It may not be just silicon-based revolution. I mean, now with the GPU, let's say from NVIDIA, I think it will improve for the time being. Also, quantum computing is another really fundamentally different way to improve the computation efficiency. So I believe it will keep going. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then another question is, thank you, Professor Jean. Can you please share what you prefer for analytics, Python or R?
I'm a Python person, but if you want to do more statistics or econ based and analytics, I think R is also a very powerful tool. So I think, to be honest, I use both, depending on the situation. And yeah, but if you want to start, I think really taste, but I will prefer Python. Just my preference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. It's a more personal question there. Okay. Does UBC use generative AI? Oh, that's more for us, but we'll add. They're asking if we use generative AI.
Oh, application.
Application.
Yeah.
We do not, just so you know. So okay, here's a good question for Jean. Can Coursera or DataCamp certificate in business analytics be used as a waiver for the MBAN program? No, but it is, Jean, I think we recommend this type of training prior.
We recommend, yeah. And then we do provide them over the summer, the access. Yeah.
Right, yes. And some people, I believe I was sitting on the faculty panel, some people continue finding DataCamp to be quite useful even after they graduate, or they still like to have access.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I guess another question here is, I'd love to know, Prof. Lee, what would be the role that a graduate from the MBAN program can expect, I guess, in the workforce, like ideas of different roles that people can take with the MBAN degree?
So I see some of our MBAN graduates getting into the data analyst role, data scientist role. Some of them go tech consulting. And so some people go to like management consulting, like McKinsey, Deloitte here in Vancouver, and sometimes in Toronto. Yeah, so there's a whole variety of data related jobs. And some people go to marketing analytics company, sometimes HR analytics, people analytics, and there's a whole variety. I think there will be once you get into the MBAN program, you will get to do a lot of networking with the graduates. Yeah.
And then Andy, thanks you for your lecture. And here she's asking, could you please introduce more about the application of analytics in the public sector?
Public sector, yeah, that's a good one. Actually, some of our MBAN graduates went to the public sector. There is an organization called Canada Energy Regulator. So they wanted to streamline their natural resource development process, and they were using analytics to it. And actually, I was doing a lot of advising to them even after they graduate. So public sector, actually in Canada, Canada is really in the forefront on this analytics revolution. Yeah.
Great. I guess there's a few questions about like suitability and preparation for the program. I guess from me, just kind of summarizing a lot of what I hear from a lot of applicants, what would you recommend for people in terms of preparation to like get into the MBAN program, for example? Let's say they don't come from a technical background at all. Let's say they come from a business background or an economics background. So they're quantitatively oriented, but no kind of experience with coding or technical skills. What's your recommendation in terms of being properly prepared for the MBAN program?
So there are many free like online resources from like Google or DataCamp or Coursera we just mentioned. I would say get familiar yourself at least once, because there is an emotional barrier to get into coding. Yeah. So but if you don't need to be a perfect programmer to get in there, right? You just need to overcome that emotional anxiety. I mean, to be honest, Python is really easy to learn. I've been teaching a lot of non-technical students throughout my career. Initially, they were very scared, but once they get a little hang of it, it just take like a few weeks or a month to just get the hang of it. Once you get in, it's it's a new world. I mean, it will boost up your productivity and your competitive.
Yeah, I think that's why we put it as like, it's not a hard recommendation, but always like, it's always good, at least from us on the admission side, to see students at least have basic Python and R. So they at least know kind of what they're getting into, because you're going to be using these languages quite a bit. when you're in the program. So at least to know, to get over the emotional barrier and to be a little bit familiar with what it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I see a few more questions come up. This question's from Kevin. Would you please share any insight you have on the ethics of the rate of global technology progress and its effect on social considerations, such as the initial slide indicating that the median workers are not being paid more despite progress occurring?
Yeah, ethical consideration is actually a big topic. So in fact, in the Sauder School, we have Business Ethics Research Center. Some of my research actually has some ethical consideration. For example, I'm working with a robotics companies, and then they are introducing this service robots to the restaurant industries. So what is the implication? So what I see from the manager is that the productivity increase, and then the real question is what happens to the workers? Actually, their productivity increased dramatically after introducing the service robots. So I think it's not really black and white. It's not like a winner or loser situation. I think it will boost up the productivity together, but the median income level stagnating, I think that's a big it could be an issue. Yeah, so there are some research on basic income, maybe there should be a robot tax, etc. Yeah, so I think there are many ethical considerations. I think we for the MBA 505 course, I do have some case studies on ethical consideration of analytics and AI, and MBAN as well. I think so throughout the course, AI is not just tools that will do everything. You have to have a balanced view of it. I think the MM and MBAN program will provide you that balanced perspective. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so this is a question, I guess, looking for some insights from you, Dr. Lee, about how the course will, it'd be a great insight into how the course will be pursuing will actually function. Do you generally see students enter the job market with entry-level positions? And do you see students using the technical aspect of the program more or the business aspect of the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have the exact statistics. What I do know is from the LinkedIn profile, what's happening after they graduate. I think it's there's some students who get into the technical side and then pursue for the entry versus mid-level, it depends on your prior work experience, I guess. Mm-hmm. So some of the fresh graduate from undergrad get into MBAN. I think they get into the entry job. Mm-hmm. But some of the MBAN graduates, they already have some work experience. They didn't get into the mid level. Mm-hmm. In terms of technical, yeah, I mean, I think I already mentioned, but some people get into tech consulting where they do more customer-facing jobs. Some people get into data engineering job here. So it's a whole, I cannot say which one more, but it's a variety.
Yeah, I would confirm that generally speaking, there's a range of different career outcomes. If some people come in with quite a bit of work experience already, so they actually use the degree to kind of leverage into more senior level positions, not just mid-level, kind of senior leadership levels as well. So it's a training program that's quite suitable for anybody, whether it's you're a new grad or you've got 10, 20 years of experience. We've kind of had the gamut. Of course, those are like some of the outliers. Generally speaking, we have at least a couple years of work experience being quite ideal. So you know what you're getting into, you know yourself better, and you know how you're going to leverage the degree. But certainly on both ends of the spectrum, from new grads to very experienced individuals, they have different outcomes based on what their previous experience was. Yeah, let's see here. There's an kind of a sector-specific question. How can someone apply his knowledge from the MBAN degree in the mining industry? Any insights on that, Gene?
Mining industry. I'm not an expert in mining industry, but I mentioned about the Canada energy regulator case. They are actually managing, part of the mining industry. The mining industry also generates a lot of data. Whenever there's a lot of large data sets, and then if you can have some good training data to guide your model, I think there could be a good application. I do say in terms of finding where to mine, I think they are using a lot of analytics tools. Yeah, but I'm not really, I don't have the specifics, but I do know in the Canada, especially the Calgary area, there are many mining and natural resource companies using analytics.
Yeah, anywhere where there's data, right? Like anywhere data is being collected.
Yeah. I don't see any sector that are not affected by analytics, to be honest.
Yeah. And here's an interesting question. Is there a possibility that an AI can replace a business analyst? And how long will that take?
That's a great question. Asking the right question is how you distinguish yourself as business analyst. I think business analyst is not just about analyzing data. It is to ask the right question. And then you can use ChatGPT or other generative AI tools to generate your code. In that sense, it will enhance your productivity. But asking the right question is not something that can be easily replaced. Yeah, that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the human aspect of it, right? Like we program the AI, we control how they do things. They just do it better. Like they just do it like like they can take over some of the repetitive aspects, but ultimately we're the ones that train them. So I think like a strong BA or how that function will probably evolve is to always ask the question that the AI hasn't already been trained on. Yeah.
I agree.
So yeah, I always get a lot of questions when when ChatGPT launched, like a lot of questions from individuals like worried, like, will my job just be taken over by AI? I'm like, well, not if like, you ask the right questions or you stay ahead of that kind of development curve, right? Like
just to add to it, in my course, actually, we do a lot of data analytics. I will ask students to use generative AI to head start their project. But they will use their understanding to guide their project. So in that sense, it's even fun, more fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's like kind of this era's version of the calculator in some sense. A lot of people fear that as well. But it is a tool that we can use.
It is.
Yeah. Great. All right. Let's see if there's further questions. Oh, more questions have come up. Dr. Lee, in the field of smart agriculture and e-commerce, how can AI help improve output efficiency and business decisions? What companies in Canada are using AI to solve agricultural problems? Does MBAN program combine business analytics with AI regarding agricultural field? Sector specific again.
Yeah, so I mean, not in the specific program, but we do program the internship opportunity. So if a student is very interested in a certain sector, I think there are many Canadian companies in agriculture. One sample, very revolutionary idea that I heard is agriculture, agtech, is that, so they do computer vision on satellite images over time to see what kind of crops are going well or not. Depending on that, they will decide what kind of crops they will grow next year or the next cycle. So I think that was a very great idea, using satellite images, large scale, and then so I can see a very good. I see many good applications of analytics and agtech. Yeah.
Very interesting. Some more questions for you, Jean. Thank you. So Ryan, thanks you for your presentation. And then his question is, given the exponential increase in the volume and availability of data, especially personal data, can you speak to the privacy implications for analytics professionals? How are these issues addressed in Sauder programs?
That's a great question. Again, in the MBAN program, it's not just technical oriented program, it's a holistic program. So we will touch upon those implication issues in many different courses. In terms of privacy implications, I think, so very technical term, there are many these tools called privacy preserving data analytics. So these tools will ensure that the raw data are protected, but you can still get the utility out of your analytics. So and then we will cover a lot of the cases of this as well. So we are covering it.
Right. And then another question is, how does the MBAN program address global business analytics challenges and opportunities? I guess this is more of a kind of a global general question, like how are analytics being applied globally, or how do we look at it from a global scale?
Global scale. Let's go step by step. We want to address the Vancouver scale problem, which is the demand, the labor force. So the tech sector is growing rapidly in Vancouver, and there's a big demand on this. That's why we want to we provided this MBAN program initially. For the global, we do have some students going back to their home countries to pursue their analytics career. Yeah, so in that sense, we are solving the global issues.
The global talent contribution.
Yeah, global talent. Sauder, in general, there are many research experts in the sustainability and climate issues. So we are, so Sauder is actually in that forefront as well, in that global challenge aspect. Yeah.
Great. I see a couple of questions actually in the chat that I might have missed, but it's quite interesting. Dr. Lee, I'm curious about how ChatGPT will evolve in the future. We all know that it started as a general purpose GAI for broad knowledge, and has gradually branched out into vertical global artificial intelligence for general AI for specific industries such as consulting. I'm wondering what is the next step?
Yeah, this is a great question. So GPT and all these models are based on what's called foundational model, where these are just general knowledge, as Selena correctly alluded to. So so these general model can be only developed by like large tech firms, to be honest. But however, as she mentioned, Selena mentioned, there will be verticals. So you will find what's called this technical term, fine-tune those foundational model to a certain specific application to how to address the certain vertical. And I do see that's the next step. And if you want to do it properly, you need to have a good understanding of the application, the actual domain. So you need to have domain knowledge to fine-tune your foundation model. So I think that's what's happening these days. Yeah, a lot of startups are emerging to address that one.
All right, thanks so much. And then a few more questions here. So someone is wondering what you think about AI in terms of its philosophical implications. How does AI impact us holistically beyond just its use in data and analytics? Would love to know your thoughts.
Philosophy. Yeah, I got my PhD. PH is actually philosophy, Doctor of Philosophy. So I think I have to say something.
Yeah.
Well, I think the fundamental question is, are we fundamentally different from computers in terms of information processing? Or if there's something unique about it? And people think about creativity. Like, is there anything intrinsic about human beings in being creative, or is it just the information processing that AI can automate? I think this raises a lot of these fundamental philosophical issues. I don't have the answer, to be honest, but this is a very timely question that analytics professionals should think about. Yeah, that's why it is an exciting time, but it's also sometimes, it gives some anxiety sometimes. But yeah, I think, yeah. So who are we? What is human? What is AI? Am I a human?
It's interesting how philosophical it can get, like with the advent of these technologies is making us question who we are and what our purpose is.
Yeah. So I was during the COVID time, I was doing a lot of online lectures, like in the online Q&A platforms. There are many like AI TAs. It really serve our students, and then yeah. Do we need professors? Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, something
great philosophical question.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess we can just end. Maybe we'll just end with that philosophical question.